Hey folks, welcome back to the Talos Principle 2. Last time we explored the city of New Jerusalem as well as Cornelius's terminal. We experienced the fact that the citizens of New Jerusalem seem to be heavily divided over whether to continue the expedition or halt it. And Cornelius had some cryptic notes suggesting that he may or may not know exactly what's going on and whether or not Athena has hidden herself away for safety. There was also mention that something would be applicable to one of the other residents, but not another. I think it was Sarabai he said it might be applicable to. We don't have a lot else we can do here in the city, so we're going to head back. We're going to head back to the Megastructure, tackle the next set of puzzles, get our way inside, and see if we can rescue Byron. Before we leave, however, it does seem that Maldek here has something to say.
You are the Founder's chosen, but you are in grave danger of going astray. Heed my words, 1K. If you fail this trial, a year from now, New Jerusalem will lie in ruins.
And you know this how?
Anyone can see the truth if they are willing to open their eyes. Have you not read the books of our ancestors? In every one of them, the same story is told, again and again, that the pursuit of knowledge can only lead to death and grief. That is what all the great ancient visionaries foresaw. Listen to their warnings. Seek happiness in tranquility. And avoid ambition.
I don't think all the ancient writers believe that. There were other strands of thought.
Misleading fantasies and daydreams of impossible futures.
Our own existence would seem quite fantastical to our distant ancestors.
On the surface, perhaps. You can replace flesh and bone with wire and steel. But underneath it all, the human soul is as flawed as ever.
I like this one. There is no single static human nature. We change as the world changes. And if we change the world, we can change ourselves.
You are mistaken. Things never truly change. All we can do is prevent our hubris from making things worse.
We'll have to agree to disagree. Bye. That's a remarkably pessimistic view, and one that I don't choose to embrace. All right, let's head back up. Now, the mayor may have something to say now that we've been out and about in the town. There may be another meeting going on. I'm not sure. We'll have to check and find out. This door is still locked. Yeah, there's another meeting happening. Okay.
Could you join us for a quick debrief? Attending today are advisors from engineering, the archive scholars, and Helga.
Yes, don't mind me. I'm just an admirer of governmental transparency.
Yes, well. While the mayor is briefed by Alcatraz, he's asked us to review recent events. Byron's loss has unsettled us all. It may be too dangerous to allow this expedition to continue.
It may not be safe, but we can't leave Byron behind.
I agree. We cannot be guided by fear. We must do what's right.
Let's not forget the dam's falling apart. We can't depend on hydro forever. With just a fraction of the power that island can generate, we could grow this city into a planetary society.
Or, quite possibly, destroy ourselves in the process.
We should trust ourselves to make good of this opportunity. We should beware the fate of those who wield power beyond their reckoning, or we have more important matters to discuss. Why? It's still strange to me that they all look to 1K for judgment. Ultimately, he's the arbiter of this discussion, which is very strange to me. I don't know what the more important matters to discuss would be. So, we should trust ourselves to make good of this opportunity.
Wise words from one so young. Yet I submit that island holds secrets far more valuable than mere energy generation.
What could be more important?
The Somnodrome, of course. If we could find a working model, it would herald a sea change in our moral and self-understanding. The question of how we should build New Jerusalem would simply be moot.
I'm not sure I agree with that. It might provide us more insight into our deepest natures, but it wouldn't change the fact that there's been this sea line running through the entire series from the first game to the second, that of the Talos principle. The mind cannot exist without the body, and the society cannot exist without the city. Regardless of whether or not we found the Somnodrome, we still have energy and infrastructure problems that we have to deal with. Plus, there's the fact that our species, our race, is so incredibly fragile. If we don't grow, any one disaster could completely eliminate consciousness from this planet. And I think that would be a tragedy of the highest order. How and why?
The Somnodrome was supposed to let us interact with our own subconscious code. It's a cool idea, but it wouldn't necessarily solve all our problems.
My own studies prove that we operate on an intrinsic moral logic. It's what makes us human. But our access to it is only indirect. Our ancestors created art, philosophy, and parable to help bridge that gap. The Somnodrome would help us to cut out the middleman and ask the source directly. We would finally have an answer to the great moral questions.
So, it's a newfangled way to make the same old mistake of judging who's good and who's bad.
Unfortunately, 1K left the Somnodrome inoperable. But there may be a working device elsewhere on the island.
Then the question is, what would 1K do if they found it?
I would use it myself and then see how I feel.
No! This is much too important to decide on a whim.
But it's so much more fun when we're kept in suspense. You all sound so sure of what's best for this city. Do you ever think you might be so busy changing the world for the better, you'll forget how to see that it's perfect already?
So clearly there are different perspectives in the room. The only way we are going to move forward is if the team gets back out there. 1K, I believe Alcatraz is waiting for you at the VTOL. We'll be keeping an eye on your stream from here.
Well, there we go. We'll keep our promise. If we find that Somnodrome, we'll use it and see how we feel for sure. Mayor Herman?
What can I do for you, 1K?
How did you decide to become involved in politics?
It was a time of great uncertainty. The founder had left us, and our society was at a crossroads. History teaches us that during such times, terrible passions may seize the people. Madness, anger, revolution, civil war. Our fragile city could not afford such things. That is why the founder gave us the goal, a path to equilibrium, not only for the planet, but for ourselves. I merely picked up where she left off.
Well, now that we've reached the goal, what's your vision of the future?
I believe we can exist quietly, happily, without imposing ourselves on this world, finding meaning within ourselves and in the natural miracles
that surround us.
But how do you deal with people who feel differently? Like, what is your vision for... Like, do you just imprison or execute people who disagree with that vision? Like, you don't have, like... It's so... It's so naive to think, I'm right, and I'll just convince everybody I'm right, and everyone will live the way I think they should, and we'll be done. I don't know. What about the technologies we've discovered? What do you think about those?
They all sound very promising, of course. Apparently, it's possible to just magic things into existence now. But what is the cost, 1K? There's always a cost.
Now that I do agree with, and I'm very curious what the cost would be. Whether it's a material cost or like a social economic cost. I don't know. All right, well, we have to go rescue Byron.
I agree. We can't just leave one of our most important citizens in that death trap.
Okay, well, it's good to know at least you agree with that much. I have to go.
It's always a pleasure to speak to a citizen.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm your peer, your equal. In fact, you're my servant. I don't know about you calling me a citizen. And that condescending, oh, it's always a pleasure to speak to you.
I convinced him that we need to keep going until we found Byron.
Did he want us to leave him behind?
No, he's just concerned for our safety. And he's right to be. But we're going back anyway.
Man, it feels weird to be in the VTOL without Byron.
Great trials lie ahead of you, my child. But your choices will determine the future.
Melville? Are you receiving?
Yep. Welcome back to the mysterious island, everyone.
How's the situation?
Whatever Byron did seems to have sent the whole system into some kind of lockdown. I can't access any of the terminals, although I suspect 1K still could.
Why would that be the case?
When 1K connected to the data stream, the system assigned him a user profile. The rest of us are locked out, which means I'll need your help, 1K, because a lot of stuff doesn't seem to be working.
Okay. Check it out and see what you can fix. But please remember, what matters most is finding Byron.
Fair enough, but the only way we're finding Byron is if we get back inside. Okay. So... Are we able to travel somewhere new yet, or do we have to fix things here first? We can, okay. So we can head to the southern coast. The heavily eroded cliffs of the southern coast are surrounded by azure waters and dominated by a particularly unusual tower. Let's go check it out.
1K, I'm sending you a little software upgrade I put together that should allow you to detect which files will lead to a data stream overload. Unfortunately, I'm not doing this to help you avoid them. In fact, I'm going to need you to search for more. I'm sorry about that. But if we're going to unlock all the systems that aren't responding, you'll have to connect to the data stream, possibly more than once. It's the only way for me to get access.
No problem. Oh, very nice. Red rock. I love it. And a giant crab tower. Exciting stuff. All right. We're back to puzzling, folks. Let's get into it. How cool is that?
In this area, there seems to be a problem with the machine that makes the Tetromino bridges. That means you can solve the puzzles, but you can't activate the tower. Look for a lab that lets you connect to the data stream.
Alrighty,
I
Rue.
already found it. I'll send you the coordinates.
You already found it? How long? What? I literally just stepped out of this the the transport like 2 seconds ago. Okay. Melville, good to see you.
What is it?
What's going on with the Megastructure systems?
Now, I suspect Byron is still logged in, and his presence has thrown everything out of whack. Entire subsystems are locked down, and everything that depends on those subsystems is disrupted.
It's almost like because we touched the very first terminal and the system assigned us a user profile, it's almost as if whatever the trial or test would be is designed for a single being. And Byron kind of jumped ahead and stuck his hand in the terminal instead of us. And the system was like, you're not the person I'm testing. And it kind of got thrown into whack. Have you heard anything from Byron?
There was a short burst of noise on the frequency we used to communicate, but that could have been anything.
What about Cornelius? He wasn't back at New Jerusalem. Do you know anything? Is there anything you can tell me about him?
He taught me a lot when I was young. Nowadays, people just know him as the museum curator, but back then, he was closely involved with every engineering project, and he was brilliant. When he encountered a problem, he'd always remain calm and keep working at it until he found a solution. I wish I could be that patient.
Any idea why Athena and Cornelius just didn't vanish together? Why did he stay behind?
If I had to guess, I'd say so that Cornelius could still go back for anything they needed. He was always leaving on expeditions anyway, looking for materials for his projects.
All right, thanks, Melville. That's all for now. What have we got over here? More Athena and Minerva?
Father, I updated the Noema algorithm. It's working twice as fast now, and I think I can increase matter output by 25% if I tweak the modulator a little. I'm so excited.
Nice to meet you. So excited. I'm Cornelius.
Oh, Dad, this is science.
You have no idea how long I've been waiting for the right moment.
What a terrible dad joke. We do have some new research here. Noema, that's how she pronounced it, the Noema system. Pretty much all the tech on the island, from the puzzles to the megastructure, is run by a system called Noema. I've identified a number of obvious commonalities with the software we use in New Jerusalem, enough to be certain that Noema is descended from our own software, although Athena and Cornelius appear to have upgraded it quite extensively. Noema seems capable of interfacing directly with the user's mind at a deeper level than our own technology, although this functionality is not used consistently. Currently, guest users are locked out of all functions, so only 1K can access the system, although he's also locked out of any admin functionality. All right. Got a question mark over here that we can check out. Oh, here's the gold gate. We are making progress, just not quite enough. Beautiful area. Just gorgeous. The blue water, the red rock, the wooden pathways. Very pretty. All right, let's check this palm reader. We have Chernyshevsky 9 from Arkady Chernyshevsky's In Our Likeness, Essays on Humankind Reaching Adulthood. The question of our relationship with nature has bedeviled us since the earliest days of our species. Since before the first city was built, we felt that there was something different about us. Animals, we intuited, were part of nature. We were not. But, of course, humans clearly are the products of nature, our history intertwined with that of every other species. In fact, the very notion of the unnatural is a contradiction in terms. Everything that exists must, by definition, be natural. So this view, no matter how common, is deeply paradoxical. This paradox has produced a great deal of confusion. Some proclaim us chosen by a divine power set above all other creatures, and are justly accused of arrogance. Others proclaim us sinners, worse than other creatures, and are rightly accused of misanthropy. Others yet try to oppose this binary by saying that we are merely animals after all, but that too is manifestly wrong in that no other animal is capable of having this conversation. It is in the contentious issue of our impact on the ecosphere that an answer may be found. Other animals have accidentally terraformed the planet before, driving other species to extinction. This is not unnatural. If we continued our current path, even to the point of changing the climate enough to cause the collapse of civilization, that would be entirely in keeping with how animals behave. But there is one profound way in which we are not like animals. We can learn to understand ourselves and the world. It is this knowledge that makes us fundamentally different. We have choices. We have control. There are many today who are afraid of the consequences of control and would prefer a return to a state of animal ignorance, whether by blinding ourselves to the impact of our actions or by demanding we humble ourselves before nature. This is the response of an adult in crisis who wishes for a return to childhood. But this can only ever be regressive in every sense of the word. To resolve the paradox of nature, we must act as adults, accept our power, and act consciously and deliberately in shaping the world. We must become nature, and nature must become human. God, that is incredibly well written. I really, really admire that. That is such a perfect statement of how being an adult means taking responsibility. I love that. Athena comments, this is the heart of the matter, lifting up the world rather than lowering ourselves. But why do so many people so badly want to lower themselves? Cornelius replied, do they want to? Or is it simply a convenient pose to strike? It's a good question. An email here from Miranda to Athena. We upgraded the lab with my new designs. Synthesizing some of the pieces took longer than expected. We still have some bugs to iron out when it comes to the complex structures, but it worked. Now the labs are safer and prettier. Although Father says they look too much like spaceships, I don't see it, do you? And a message from Trevor.
Today, we were delighted to be visited by a bunch of protesters, these voluntary extinction weirdos who think we're creating soulless monstrosities that will destroy the planet. They broke into the facility and started yelling at everyone. Fun, 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 right? Then one of them lunged at Alex. Big mistake. Chernyshevsky grabbed the guy and literally threw him across the room. I mean, almost threw him all the way off the dam. After that, the rest of them had a change of heart. Now, I'm telling you this because mostly it is not like that. But these people do exist. And somewhere in their shriveled little souls, they think that they're doing the right thing. They think they're being righteous. Now, to me, what Alex is trying to do is an obvious good. But that's not the same for everyone.
Yeah, it's all about perspective. All right, so here we have a Pandora statue. That's going to be one of the star puzzles. I want to hit up the question marks first and probably find the lab if we can. Looks like the water isn't too deep for us here. Although at a certain point it will be. Okay. We have another lost puzzle here. God, this area is beautiful. This is the most pleasant vista that I've seen in the game. I kind of wish they'd built New Jerusalem here, huh? We're close. Okay, so there's something up there. I don't think we can go any further here. Yeah, we can't. Okay. We'll have to get up there somehow. Hello, free spark. Thank you. There was a question mark out there? Okay. We got a couple different ones. More wildlife, more birds. Love to see it. Let's see what we've got here. Very close to something.
In the early days, humankind lived in a world of unexplained wonders and terrors. The powers of the elements were understood in terms of gods and spirits. After all, how else could one explain thunderstorms and earthquakes? But as the realm of scientific knowledge expanded, the realm of the mystical began to shrink. The sacred grove, as Hegel wrote, was reduced to mere timber. But as superstition retreated, another thing was lost: meaning. In a purely mechanical universe, people yearned for the comfort provided by gods and spirits. But there was no way back.
But what about the beauty of the universe? The perfection of everything around us, couldn't they see that?
Not sure I can see that, Miranda. But I do think there was another way, a way forward instead of back. Faith not in an invisible world, but in ourselves, in each other, in the inherent value of consciousness and civilization. They never really found it, but I think that in those last months when their whole species was dying, they caught a glimpse of it. And that's how your mother was born.
I do like, we're seeing a different relationship between Cornelius and Miranda than the one we saw between Athena and Miranda. Athena, in her interactions with Miranda, sort of treated her as a peer. Not really. I didn't really sense a mother-daughter relationship there. But with Cornelius, there's very much a fatherly kind of persona that he's adopted when interacting with her. I mean, the dad joke, the like optimistic wisdom that he's passing down in that thing we just listened to. I think they had very different relationships. But we found another palm reader, so let's check out this terminal. All right, Santin Chalkidiki Denexe. What? City by the Sea by Eleni K. When I realized it was over, it was all really over for good, I decided to take one last trip to my favorite places before the symptoms got too much. I could never forgive what they did to Chalkidiki, this incredible, wild, rugged place between mountain and sea, with pine trees all the way down to the water. The colors, the vistas, the sheer overwhelming beauty of it all. And they just built all over it. Hideous hotels sprawling like tumors, obscene beach bars blaring their awful music across the sea, even in Kavoro trips. It was impossible not to hate humanity a little for it. The idea of all of it returning to nature, of the hotels gradually sinking back into the reed fields, was moving and beautiful. But then I went back to Thessaloniki, and for all the ugliness inflicted upon that city, the idea that people would no longer meet up beneath the Kamara, go for long ambling walks on the promenade, or for crepes on Palicia Never Avenue, was unbearably sad. The idea of the Rotonda just standing there empty after being a sacred place for so many centuries. It made me remember that it's not just beaches and forests that are beautiful, that cities can be more than just streets and noise. Cities can have histories and personalities, and that means something. Who am I writing this for? Do I believe there will be survivors after all? Do I think that crazy robot project I heard about will actually work out? Do I hope that aliens will come to our planet one day and wonder who we were? The truth is that I don't know. But there is something in the love we feel for the beautiful things that we built, as much as in our revulsion towards unnecessary destruction, that matters. Miranda says, Why didn't our ancestors understand that you can build in ways that make an area more beautiful instead of ruining it? Even if all they cared about was personal benefit, wouldn't that benefit them more? Cornelius replied, in the long run, yes, but people rarely think about the long-term consequences, especially if there's an incentive to act immediately. That is so incredibly true. We have such a short-term mentality problem in this world and in this country. I don't know about other countries, but in this country, people can't think beyond the next quarter, let alone the next decade. And thinking about a century in the future? Who cares? It's not my problem. I'll be dead. Miranda says, and yet most of them were unhappy with the results. Couldn't they see that it was within their control to act differently? I think children are open to possibilities, open to seeing things differently. But adults get so caught up in the hustle and bustle of surviving. I think sometimes it's hard for them to remember what that was like, to remember that there's more than one way to do things. And then even those who do often have to find the courage to fight against the conventional wisdom, to fight against authority, to fight against inertia. And that's hard. That takes courage and conviction, and often does not yield the reward or the result that you're looking for. It's just a matter of loss. It's difficult. It's difficult to bring change to a society. We have another text here, problem solving. From LD Armand, can you point me in the direction of a better timeline? Humans are problem solvers is a quote frequently associated with my friend Alexandra Drennan. It's become a meme on the internet, used both ironically and not, though Alexandra, of course, is entirely earnest in her dedication to humanity. She's also capable of being devastatingly sarcastic, but that's another story for another book. It's a great thought and vital to understanding our species, but it's also not entirely as simple as that. Take, for example, the recent extinction of the orangutan and the ensuing conversation about the dangers of unknown pathogens released by human activity. Most of us agree that a problem exists, and significantly, most of us believe that something ought to be done about it. So we've identified the problem, and we've collectively decided to act. So why is nothing happening? That's a serious question. A great deal of effort is expended on raising awareness, but I'd like to suggest that sometimes our problem-solving impulses can get stuck on the wrong goals. Awareness is not the issue. We've already convinced people that something needs to change. So if nothing changes, we have to wonder, why is the will of the people not being translated into action? Miranda says, maybe the problem was that they didn't have enough hope. They could see the problems, but they couldn't imagine that one day those problems could be solved. Athena replies, it's easy for people to get so lost in the problems of the present that they think nothing will ever change. And Cornelius replies, they lost hope because the historical circumstances they found themselves in encouraged despair. But that in turn meant the conditions could not change. How do you go against history itself? Yeah, it's hard for Miranda to understand. I think it's fairly hard for the other two as well, for Athena and Cornelius, but they've had more time to read, to absorb, to meditate, to think, to try to understand the humanity that were their forebears. Looks like another journal from Hypatia here. Day 372. Yemo died today. One moment he was there, welding a joint on the upper levels of the tower, and the next he was gone. One careless step, that's all it took. Athena brought him to the dam, but even Cornelius couldn't help. Yemo is gone. Now there's only 12 of us. Athena comments, I think about Yemo every day. Cornelius, so do I. And Athena, you did nothing wrong. You weren't even there. I was. Seems like she feels some guilt over that. And then we have a schematic here, Recharge V5. What is that? Recharge V5?
This is a design for an improved charging station. Fascinating, but not relevant.
Fascinating, but not relevant. Okay. Oh, I don't think I meant to do that. Am I coming over here? There's another question mark over here somewhere that I haven't quite gotten to. I think it must be up there. Which means I need to climb. Oh, that's interesting. That's gated off. We've run into Yakut.
Hey, 1K, what's up?
What's your analysis of these southern regions?
The southern part of the island is a natural desert, basically just due to the chemical composition of the soil. I haven't been able to work out why it's so warm, though. It could be a warm ocean current or something to do with the megastructure's thermal output. New Jerusalem doesn't have the kind of equipment I'd need to figure that out.
Do you think Byron's okay?
I hope so. I understand why he was impatient, but he should have been more careful.
Agreed. What did you do in New Jerusalem when we went back?
Mostly just made sure Pellegrino didn't mess up the VTOL. We only have a handful of them, and while they look cool on the outside, the truth is they're held together by gaffer tape and good intentions. There's a reason Melville's always complaining.
Okay. It's one of these two, I think. This is like a little too pie in the sky. That state of affairs could cost lives.
You're right. I guess we never think about how easily tragedies can happen when we don't pay attention. You neglect something here, cut some corners there, and then suddenly someone is gone.
Just like Emo. I didn't get a chance to meet him. Did you know Cornelius?
Yeah, everyone knew Cornelius. After Eustathius retired, he was the only one left who was there since the beginning. Except I guess none of us really knew him after all. We all thought he was lost in the past, always studying the archive and the simulation. But he actually had all these secrets. And a daughter.
Are you disappointed in him?
No, just surprised. Maybe a little sad that he felt he couldn't trust anyone with the truth.
All right, thanks, Yakut. Now, how do I get up there? I've been up there before, so I know there is a way. I just don't remember how I got there. We do have the Sphinx here, so we can at least check out whatever the clue is. Oh boy. Okay. I don't know where we're gonna find that, but all right. Here we go. Here's a path up. And here's the terminal. All right. Lift Razor 7.
One day, undoubtedly, an expedition will pass by this island. It will seek to document facts and statistics to enumerate reasons for us not to look more closely. That is what we do now. We seek facts rather than truth, because truth might frighten and unsettle the comfortable people who like to sit in their conference rooms and debate which corners we should cut today. These people like to imagine the chaos that could come one day, like a comforting fairy tale of distant darkness. But they do not see the chaos that is at our walls right now, the chaos that also lives within us, a force that is both necessary and appalling.
For all the way that Lift Razor's personality and attitude disturb me, I have to agree with that. The contempt that he holds for people is very unfortunate because he has some insights, but his emotions are so strong that he's not going to convince anybody by telling them they're idiots and fools, you know? I suppose he knew that about himself as well, which is probably why he was constantly leaving on these expeditions and then gathered his disciples and left for good. I would like to know where he went and whether we'll ever get to meet him. But we have found the lab. It looks like this was another place that they used as kind of a living space. You can see a busted guitar, some sort of cloth. What would they need? I guess that's a tarp, not a piece of clothing.
Look at this place. It's beautiful, isn't it? Mesmerizing. That's how it lures you in, I think. You see all these beautiful things and your imagination starts working overtime. And the puzzles, the towers, the mysterious apparitions, it all draws you further in, deeper into the trap. What if that's the whole point of this place? What if every time you have one of those visions, another little bit of you is corrupted? Overwritten with the hubris of this place.
I don't think that Athena and Cornelius would have kept something that dangerous a secret. They would have found another way to enact their vision and warned us away. I don't think I'm wary of this either. I think the first option here is the best, at least from 1K's perspective. I haven't been corrupted. Let's not be superstitious.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to suggest you were, whatever it is I'm trying to say. I guess I'm just disappointed in myself. Byron needs me. You all need me to do my job, and I can't even use a terminal. If this is all really the work of the Founder, I don't know, maybe she lost her way. Or maybe we're just not ready. But once we find Byron, I suggest we get the hell out of here and never come back.
I guess I can understand why you feel that way. And it's not like you're not open-minded or fair. It's just you fall... Alcatraz falls, like, his balance falls towards a little bit of pessimism and a little bit of being too conservative for his own good. Not a lot, just a little bit, but it doesn't make him a bad person. It just means I disagree with him. I think he is a very good person. He cares deeply. That much is obvious. All right, so we've got another anti-gravity field here, and we're gonna have to figure out how to use it. Let's go ahead and use the palm reader. Yeah. So Melville's upgrades lets us see that this is the data stream overload we're gonna have to go into. Let's read from Thuya. Dear Founder, everything has gotten so much worse since you left. We keep pursuing the goal, but our lives are getting less happy. When the weather is dry and the dam runs low, there's nothing to do in the whole city. Things don't get fixed anymore. We even had to dismantle the cinema. I know it was frivolous and pointless when we can just watch video files, but it was fun to go watch movies together like people used to do. I believe in your wisdom, Founder. I believe we have to avoid hurting the planet like our ancestors did. But I don't know if the mayor's doing what you would have wanted. Isn't there another way of reaching the goal? Please, I know you left for a reason, but I don't think we can go on this way. Faithfully. Oh, man. And then all these 5358s, which we still don't really know what the hell it is. Error, error, error. Is there perhaps, did they leave behind some digital assistant or, I don't know. Talos Principle 2B. Author Stratton of Stygira. Okay. A fragment from Stratton's On the Universe. Amintus. You have made quite the catalogue of horrors, Stratton. Children dying in their mother's arms. Cities perishing by the plague and even animals living without peace or happiness. Nicomachus.
Why must we listen to this? You know I have just eaten heavy dinner.
Stratton. Because these things which are ugly must be confronted for us to reach the truth. You spoke of justice earlier, Amintus, but are these things just? They are not. Then you must admit the universe itself is not just. If the gods exist, then they do not bend the world to their will. Rather, the universe proceeds as a machine following its rules. Justice and virtue are human inventions. Are you saying justice and virtue are therefore illusory and should be abandoned? The opposite, my friend. It is mankind alone that can impose these values upon this machine. There's a footnote here where Stratton mentions if the gods exist. Footnote 34. It remains unclear whether Stratton believed in the gods or used them solely as metaphors. His work on the deities is no longer extant. Tantalizingly, Diogenes Laertius mentions that it caused a fistfight in the Lyceum. Athena comments, I thought what made us human was that we searched for meaning, but perhaps a better way of thinking about it is that we create meaning. We also have more notes from the Noema project. Trials 3526 through 3701, something. There is a pattern underneath. Trials 3702 through 4610, new primary site. And Trials 4611 through 4699, lake water for cooling. Athena authored these. Still so much mystery surrounding what they were working on and what they were doing. I guess we don't have a choice here. Let's go into power distribution.
Our ancestors kept telling themselves that the brevity of their lives didn't matter. But they had so little time to ever really think about anything. I've spent several human lifetimes studying this mystery, and only now am I beginning to see. The simulation was built on top of material reality, unable to escape its constraints. In the same way, physics as we understand it, even quantum physics, is built on top of a deeper reality. A set of rules that define existence itself. There is a universal language of creation, and I think we can learn it.
Wow.
The language of creation. What were they doing here? And how far did they get?
I can't answer that, but I think I fixed the Tetromino bridge, machine, ring thing. I say I think because it's not in the schematics. And what I'm doing is hack work at best. Try it and see if it works.
Okay, we can do that. We do have, the way I interpreted what we just saw was when she says the simulation was constrained by its underlying reality. I think she means the physical hardware that the simulation software was running on for those many hundreds or thousands of years as it ran iteration of AI and neural network through the simulation trying to find true consciousness. From what Athena said, by analogy, the physics and the quantum physics that we think define the universe are actually just software running on an underlying hardware. And she believed, I suppose, or it seems, that she could learn how to access that underlying hardware directly. We do have another palm reader here. From Thekla 2. Beloved Founder, years have passed and still there is nothing but silence. Have we sinned? Have you abandoned us for our arrogance, our greed? Some of the others continue to build. I told them not to, but they don't listen to me. Byron is the worst of them. He disrespects you constantly, spreading lies and... Please know that there are those who remain faithful, who respect the limits you set and seek wisdom and humility as you taught. We may win the next election. Perhaps then you will return? Praise your name, Thekla. Yikes. No wonder Athena didn't want to come back to that noise. We have another one here from Trebuchet to Athena. Founder, although I was born in the early days of New Jerusalem, I never knew you well. It's not your fault. I became so focused on improving the dam that I didn't develop much in the way of social relationships, except perhaps with Melville. That doesn't mean I was unhappy. I was, in fact, extremely content. I like to solve complex problems in peace and quiet. That's who I am. But now the pleasure I used to get out of my work has faded. I may not need a lot of company, but I want my work to be meaningful, to contribute. It does not feel like that anymore. And when I suggest new projects, the mayor acts like I've committed a crime, like I should be ashamed. I do not like this. I do not care about social issues or debates. I do not want to get involved. I just want to be able to keep working on making things better. Please fix this situation. Thank you, Trebuchet. It's a better attitude than Thekla's, but again, he's saying, I don't want to take responsibility for changing the world. I want you to do it for me so that I can go back to doing what I want to do. And ultimately, that's a disappointment. We also have here paying the price. From the introduction to Portraits of the Martyrs by S.T. Sanyal. The list of people condemned for advocating new ideas is long and depressing. Ignaz Semmelweis, utterly destroyed for suggesting doctors wash their hands. Ludwig Boltzmann, ridiculed for suggesting the existence of atoms. Robert H. Goddard, mocked for arguing that a rocket could reach the moon. Al-Razi, attacked for questioning the existence of humors. Barbara McClintock's discovery transposition, ignored for years. The list goes on and on. And we haven't even touched on what happens to those who suggest political rather than scientific improvements. Even when they succeed, they often still pay with their lives. These days, the idea of progress is frequently derided as yet another narrative, identified with the establishment by critics who curiously portray themselves as rebels. But the truth is that every step forward that humanity has ever taken has come at enormous personal cost, and for some reason there's a 5358 there again. Miranda comments, that means it's even more important to stand up for the truth because so many others have already sacrificed themselves for it. Athena says, it does, but what's the right way of doing it? Many died for the truth without accomplishing anything. And Miranda says, maybe we just have to do what's right and trust the universe. That's easy to say and incredibly hard to do. Like, Miranda's not being asked to sacrifice the people she loves, her life, right? She's outside of that kind of a situation for now. Maybe in the future she won't be. Anyway, this episode's running pretty long. With that, I think we've seen all the documents in this area, and we're ready to start puzzling. According to Melville, we've got the Tetrominoes up and running, or the Tetromino Bridge up and running. So we've located the two puzzles. One is the Sphinx with a weird clue. We're gonna have to find, it seems, a series of buttons. There's also a Pandora star puzzle where we're gonna have to find a green light somewhere. We found the two lost puzzles. There's 8 main puzzles. So the bottom line is there's a lot of puzzling to do here, and we'll get to it next time. Until then, as always, thank you for watching. Do appreciate it, and hope you enjoyed this episode. A lot of philosophy and thoughtfulness and exploration and kind of debate and questions about meaning. But when we come back, it'll just be good old-fashioned puzzling, so I hope you're looking forward to that as well. We'll see you next time. Take care.